What's up? What's up, YouTube? I'm read this letter and I'm gonna give my commentary at the end of it. This is a letter written from a quote unquote transgendered young man in the Connecticut CPS who wrote a letter to the I think the board of the judges or whatever who's overseeing his case in Connecticut. I'm going to read it. It's probably going to take 10, 15 minutes or so to read it, but I'm going to give my commentary after it on the issue of gay rights and the gay agenda. And pardon me for this video not being the most quality video, but we'll make it do with what we do. Make it do with what we got. And oh yeah, before I start reading it, you might want to take any kids in the room that you have out of it, because has a lot of disturbing stuff in it, and let's just say it's rated R. And there's gonna be some parts in here where you see like that little black mark up there where he mentions other people's names, and I guess for legal purposes he can't publicly say their name. So when you hear me reading and I hesitate where somebody's name should be, it's because they couldn't put the names of those people in public. And I don't know what his name is, but it says, I hereby affirm under penalty of perjury, pursuant of the law, hereby assert that the following is true and correct. I'm a female transgendered child. I have been in DFC custody since the age of 5. I was placed in DFC custody because my father was incarcerated and my mother was using heroin, crack, and alcohol, and possibly other drugs. While in DFC custody, I have suffered immensely. I feel that DFC has failed to protect me from harm, and I am now thrown into prison because they have refused to help me. The following incidents occurred to me while I have been in DFC supervision. At age 8, while I lived in my grandmother's house, my cousin would force me to have anal sex with him and threaten me that if I ever told, he would kill me. From age 8 through 12, my uncle beat me by punching, kicking me, and he once bashed my head into a wall over and over, all because he caught me playing with dolls. At about age 9, my uncle caught me talking to my mother on the phone, telling her how I was being beaten by my uncles and aunts and begging her to help me. He snatched the phone from my hands, kicked me in the head, and told my mother to go to hell. He then hung up the phone and dragged me upstairs by my shirt to my room, threw me on the floor, kicked me and slapped me in the mouth so hard that my mouth started to bleed. He then closed and locked the door for 2 days without food and water and would not let me out no matter how much I begged and pleaded. At about age 11, my grandfather made me sleep outside on the porch for two days because I couldn't hold my stool and had an accident. He told me only animals do that, and if I didn't stop, he would treat me like one. After my cousin forced me to have anal sex with him, I could no longer control my bowels. At about age 11, my aunt caught me in the bathroom wearing her dress and lipstick and started slapping me, saying, "You're a boy. What the fuck is wrong with you?" At about age 12, I was placed in DFC at a residential facility in Eagleton School in Massachusetts, where a worker named used to show the other children pornographic magazines. And on 2 occasions, I was in his office and he had me perform oral sex on him. At about age 13, at Connecticut Children's Place, a staff member took me off school grounds and took me and another transgendered female to the movies and dinner. In the parking lot after dinner, the other transgendered female performed oral sex on him, and he drove to a more secluded place where we both performed oral sex on him. After that incident, he would repeatedly tell me not to tell and buy me small gifts. At about age 13 at CCP, another boy who was a resident came into my room at night, placed his hand over my mouth, and then placed my face into a pillow and anally raped me. He was actually found by a staff member in my closet, and I had to pretend I didn't know he was there. At about age 14, after my stay at CCP, I was sent home by DFC to live with my mother. At about age 14, my mother's boyfriend would force me at night to give him oral sex, and if I did not, he said he would kill my mother. I would attempt to resist him. This must have happened at least 30 times. At about age 15, my little sister's father once came from behind me and covered my mouth and told me to be quiet or he would gut the shit out of me. I nodded that I understood, and he pushed me on my bed. He pushed me on my bed, pulled my pants down, and began having anal sex with me while shoving my face into a pillow. He was suffocating me, and I passed out. All I can remember is waking up with my pants still down and the house empty. At about age 15, my mother kicked me out of the house, and I went to live with my friend. She's a transgendered female I was with at CCP when we had oral sex with blank. The first night at blank house, she threw a huge party. I was drinking and smoking PCP for the first time and started to dance with blank brother, then called me over and said, I would be careful if I was you because my brother is trouble. I laughed and walked back to him and told him I was going to be right back. He nodded his head and that he understood. I went downstairs to use the bathroom, and while I was washing my hands, his hands came through the door with his friends. I looked at him and said, what the fuck are you doing here? He smiled and grabbed my neck and kissed me. I tried to push him off me and then grabbed my arms and pinned them behind my back, and he punched me in the face. I then fell onto the floor, and he started kicking me. He then pulled out his penis and said, suck my dick, bitch. While I did, he told me that if I told anyone, he would kill me. At about 15, once I started to hang out with such and such more, I learned she was an escort. Soon enough, I was working alongside her every night on the corner waiting for a date. One time, this man in a black car pulled up. I got in, and he said he wanted a blowjob. So we drove to a parking lot. He gave me $90. I put it in my purse. I gave him oral sex, and we finished. As we got closer to the corner where he picked me up, he pulled over, grabbed my hair and purse, and calmly told me, give me your fucking money. I refused, and he grabbed me by the hair and smashed my head into the center console, opened my door, and pushed me onto the street and drove away. The DFC worker would come to the house where my mother lived twice per month. Since I wasn't living there, my mother would call me and tell me to come over when the worker came to visit. Once I went to meet at her friend's house in Norwalk, Connecticut. When I got there, she greeted me with a hug and we sat in the living room. A tall, dark man and a tall Spanish man walked into the room and said hello to me. The first man poured me a drink and was already drunk, so I began drinking. Then we smoked some drug that I had never previously experimented with. He gave me and I cocaine to snort. We smoked more of that drug and I passed out. When I woke up, I was beside such and such naked. I sprang out of the bed and woke her up. We both got dressed, and when I tried to open the door, it was locked. We started to scream and bang on the door, and one of the men came through the door and smacked such and such to the floor and said, "Shut the fuck up before I kill you both. You work for me now." Then I tried to run out, and he grabbed me by the hair and slammed my face into the wall. Then two more men walked inside and told such and I to get cleaned up because a customer is coming. Such and such screamed for help and threw stuff at them. One guy left and came back with needles. The other man held me down while the other man stuck her and me with needles. We instantly fell asleep. Later, Such and me woke up and said she was going to kill herself before they did. She had a huge piece of glass and asked me if I wanted to kill myself with her. I pushed her face to the floor, and then the door opened up and two men came in and told us to get ready for a customer and left. I told her to calm down, and hopefully if we tell the customer to help us, he will. When we told the customer, he told on us and we were beaten. That was the first and last time we tried to get help. About 3 weeks later, a black man with long dreads came into our room, took out his penis and asked us how old we were. I said I was 15 and Such said she was 16. The guy looked at us with some type of compassion and then said if we both gave him oral sex and each other, he would help us escape. So we did. Then he said when he would leave, he would call the police. My friend said, "No, help us now. I don't want the police to know. I just want to escape and act like this never happened." I stood quietly, and the man gave us his cell phone and said he was going to call us in 15 minutes, then come back with his homeboy. There's only one guy in the house. He then left and called us 20 minutes later. He said, "Okay, I'm with my homeboy, and we are on our way." So when the door opened, he's going to grab the guy up, and you run out as fast as you can and don't stop, okay? We said we understood, and 30 minutes later, the door opened, and it was him. We ran out and saw his homeboy strangling the tall guy with rope. We froze, and the guy told us to run and get the fuck out here. We ran so fast and so long without stopping or looking back and got to the train station. I told my friend that we should call the police, and she looked at me and said, "Shut the fuck up. We free. What more do you fucking want? Leave those guys alone. Trust me, if we say something, we will fucking die if they find us. So just shut the fuck up and keep this between us and act like it never happened." We hopped on a train back to Bridgeport, and we never spoke about it again. To be honest, I kind of feel like that never happened. I feel so numb to it all, and ever since this has happened, I feel numb to everything because I could go missing and no one would care. But it's like this never happened. It's so weird now that I look back on it. Me and Such went back to our normal routine, escorting and turning tricks and doing drugs after all this shit happened. At 15, my friend and I got into a fight and she kicked me out. I went to my aunt to stay with her. This is when I started smoking crack with her. We would go out with guys and have sex with them for drugs. This became a daily event. I remember going to my mother's house one day and she hugged and kissed me and said she loved me and wanted me to come back home. I told her I would think about it and left. Later that same night, my aunt and I got all dolled up, smoked crack, and went with a guy named such and such. This was the first time after I started prostituting that I felt I didn't want to continue this lifestyle. I wanted to be a little kid again in my mother's arms, and all I wanted was someone to tell me that they loved me, that everything would be all right, and that I would never have to live the way I was again. But that never happened and will not happen, and I've become okay accepting that this life as a transgender 16-year-old sex worker who smokes about a pound of crack, obvious exaggeration, every week and does any drug anyone give her, from pills to shrooms to K2, angel dust, PCP, acid, and anything to become numb. and will probably not make it to age 25. Even now that I'm sober and out of that situation, I can't see anything else in my future. Besides this, people constantly tell me I can change that, but I just can't see myself doing anything else. I have no family and no friends. Everyone is always looking at me like I'm an alien because if I want to be the female that I am, people treat me like shit and are always saying rude and hurtful comments like, "You're a man, kill yourself, faggot." It's hard for me to accept compliments from people because they are always so mean to me. There have been times I've thought about killing myself, but every time I tried, I just couldn't go through with it, and I don't know why. I really do want help, but I just have a hard time seeing a better future for myself. All of these incidents cause me constant distress and replay in my head. I am tortured by these memories, and I have tried to block them out. I frequently find myself laughing when I remember these incidents. I know it's not the right response, but it's more of a nervous thing. I've been provided with hormone treatments through DCF to further develop female physical characteristics, including breast. I have historically been placed in residential facilities with other juvenile females. DCF has always treated me as a girl. On April 8, 2014, I was transferred to York, Connecticut, and I am currently being held in an adult facility in the mental health unit. During the day and night, I can hear other adult inmates screaming, banging, and crying. I find it difficult to fall asleep. I'm being held in a prison cell for 22, 23 hours per day. I have no contact with peers my own age. I have not been given any educational instruction since coming to York, Connecticut. If I were placed in a male correctional facility, I fear that I would be assaulted, would experience verbal and physical abuse, stress, anxiety, and would not feel safe. I can feel myself growing more and more isolated, frustrated, and feeling alone in my current isolation. When I was housed at the Connecticut Juvenile Training School in similar conditions, I experienced emotional stress and trauma, and I am concerned how this will affect my future. I don't think being placed in isolation or in a male facility would be in my best interest or prepare me to re-enter the community. I need to be given treatment and service specific to my needs. I need to deal with the trauma I've experienced in my life. This prison cannot do that for me. I am willing to cooperate fully with those people who are willing to help me fully. Sworn and subscribed before the Commissioner of the Superior Court this 12th day of April, 2014 in Niantic, Connecticut. I guess Naomi T. Fetterman is his name. But anyway, I'm going to give a quick commentary on this as the screen goes black. And first I'm going to say this boy has had a horrendous childhood. And, you know, it partly proves what I was saying about children, a lot of boys being gay, being a result of child molestation. Now, I don't think that every situation where a man ends up being gay, you know, he necessarily went through this type of horrendous childhood. But I do think that 75-80% of men that are gay people had sex with them when they were young. And, you know, the bigger, and I'm going to just say this right here. If the state of Connecticut recognizes that what he's saying is true, and that you had facility members engaging in sex with him, and then you turn around and give him pills to help make him a woman, then you're basically pushing him to further be a victim of what his circumstances force him to be or to become. And something that I think that we have to consider is this right here. And this is a key issue in the gay rights conversation. If a person is made gay by molestation and rape, shouldn't that person receive help? Shouldn't that person receive counseling? Why should that person be forced to have to accept what they are, even though it was forced upon them? To me, it's kind of like if you think about the movie The Color Purple. There was a part where Miss Celie was talking to, Suge Avery. And Suge Avery asked Miss Celie, does Albert have sex with her, Danny Glover? And she was like, yeah, he get on me and he do his thing. And she said, well, Miss Celie, sounds like he's shitting on you. And Miss Celie said, yeah, that's what it feel like. You see, Miss Celie was very similar to this dude. She had just accepted the ugly, harsh reality of what had been forced upon her since she was a girl. And if a feminist woman or anybody who's seen The Color Purple, if they believe that there was a better way or a better life for Miss Celie, that some counseling and some sisterhood or whatever could change her life around, then why do we as society try to say and fight for a right for a person to be something that was forced on them, like in the case of this boy? I think people that were gay, who were molested when they was little, they need counseling and they need help. They don't need gay rights. He needs a harsh wake up, some hard counseling, along with some sympathetic people around him to change his life around. But what you don't need is a state government giving you birth control pills or female hormones to help you further become what was forced on you. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I was thinking of some more things, but they escape my mind right now. This is a horrendous situation, a absolute nightmarish childhood. And, you could look at it from different aspects. You could say that at a certain point, well, maybe he was going along with it. But nevertheless, it starts out when he's, 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. I don't think that a person who's made to be something should have society, and definitely not the state, encouraging them to be the same or stay the same. Needs to be counseling, not an acceptance of what an abusive society made about him. And remember, if there's anybody in the Connecticut area who could possibly reach out to this guy, I have almost 700 subscribers. I'm pretty sure I got some subs up on the Upper East Coast. Remember what I said in my video, God and the Devil. It's not so much what you do all the time. It's what you don't do that can be just as evil as the stuff that you do. It's people like this that you have to reach out to and stretch out a hand to help bring some change to their life. There's, I'm pretty sure, some Nation of Islam, thousands of churches, all type of organizations that can probably find who this boy was, who this boy is, because this is a very recent story. I'll put the link in the description box. Take it. Read it to your church. Print it out. Read it to your church. Tell them to get active. Don't just sit their black asses and their white asses up there collecting money, for the quote-unquote building fund and not do anything to situations like this. Share it with everybody. The Hebrew Israelites, the Christians, everybody. This is the type of stuff that you have to jump on and make a change. Because in your good book, it does say that the people will go to God or whatever and say, didn't I do this? Didn't I do that? Didn't I do this? And he'll say, get away from me, I know you're not. It's not the stuff that you did to make yourself feel better. It's all the things that you didn't do that'll get you cast away from God, as people tend to personify and believe that God to be. But anyways, that's been a short video. Well, not too short. It's about 20-some minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. Comment, rate, subscribe, holler at your YouTube.